Senior reporter Habida Lawal, we must thank you for bringing us up to speed. Thank you. All right, we move over now to Washington, D.C., where I'm being joined by Ike Ogbebile, the CEO and Kings Consulting, who is a global affairs analyst, to talk to us about his perception of this election. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Veronica. Thanks for having me. Now,
there are talks about the unpredictability and how close to call this election is. In fact, a lot of persons are sitting on the edge with regards to how things will turn out with regards to this election. But from your perspective of monitoring U.S. elections and also this election, what do you see happening at the end of the day that could turn out as the game changers for this election?
Well, the truth is the anxiety level is very high. It's a known fact. Everywhere you go, every corner, everyone is talking about it. People are very passionate about the candidates that they actually support. But you see, Veronica, what is on the line in this election is different. The fundamentals of democracy and the rule of law are the things that are actually core in today's election. And because of that, those who are pro-democracy, which is what America has stood for all the years, are very much passionate about making sure that at the end of the day, America holds its own globally and also holds its own internally. And that's the difference in this election than other elections. I've been around long enough to know that I've never seen it like this before. The message coming out from both camps, very intense, especially one camp over the other. It's very dark, you know. There's a lot of negativity in the air, and that is heightening up the anxiety level in the country as a whole. But at the end of the day, everything will be calm. This is America. You can only do but so much.
Absolutely. But there is the big question that some persons have been asking, and the question is, will America or will the U.S. dare to elect its first female president?
Sorry, what was the question again? I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Now, I'm saying that there is the question that some have been asking, which is, will the U.S. dare to elect its first female president, from your perspective?
Well, it's possible. The candidate of the Democratic Party, who is also the vice president of the country, let's not forget that, has been around long enough in the political scene. She has all that it takes to lead on day one. Vice President Kamala Harris is not just, unfortunately, it appears that she just came out from nowhere, but she's been around in the political scene for quite a while. And for her to be heavily involved in the Biden-Harris administration means that to a great extent she has the capacity to lead. Remember, the vice president is just one heartbeat away from the president. So either which way something happens to the president, the vice president steps in, right? So now she's actually saying, I am ready to lead as the head of the ticket. And the challenge most people are having is, on one side, could be the fact that she's a woman. I personally don't feel that this election is fair, in the sense that what she has to go through to prove who she is, Donald Trump doesn't have to go through the same thing. It's almost as if they're taking two different exams, and that's a big problem. Women's rights is a big issue in this time around. Everybody's talking about abortion. When you listen to it, you're wondering, why is America so big on this abortion issue? It's beyond the word abortion, as most of us in that part of the world where you are would think it actually comes from. What we're dealing with here is human rights. What we're dealing with here is the fundamental rights of a woman to say yes or no to her own body. My fear is when you start tampering with a certain group of the community or the society and their rights, where do you now stop? You understand? You now go from one person or one gender to another gender, or one race to another race. So those are the fundamental issues. Another fundamental issue is immigration. And she has the right answers to solve those problems, unlike what Donald Trump is thinking of doing. He's saying if he comes in, it will be the largest deportation policy ever seen in the United States of America. That means everyone who is illegally here or is waiting through their asylum can get kicked out in a heartbeat. And that's a problem, especially for someone like me who has gone through the immigration process and now becomes an American citizen.
All right, let's look at the battleground states and the polls that we have been seeing in recent times. If that is anything to go by from your perspective, there are talks that Kamala Harris's chances has slimmed in recent times. Do you think that perhaps that could also matter or work against her, as the case may be?
Well, you see, I was at an event this weekend, Veronica, and one of the most prominent poll stars was in that room with us. And she looked at us and said to us, forget about the polls. For the first time, I'm hearing someone like her saying, forget about the polls. Why? Because what we see on the polls would not eventually reflect on the day of election. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people who either would not vote, or those who say they will vote for one candidate on one side, but will end up voting for another candidate on the other side. There's a lot of women coming out this time, and these are college-educated women who have an understanding of what is going actually on. And they are Republican women. They believe in the Republican Party, but that might end up voting for Harris just for the sake of their own rights. And you're going to see a lot of people who might say, hey, we're supporting this candidate, and they will vote for that candidate on top of the ticket, but underneath the ticket, they will vote for somebody else. So anything can happen. It's a very tight election, no doubt about it. But anything can happen at the end of the day. And we are so excited to see what the outcome is going to be. My most important thing is at the end of the day, let there be a smooth transition to power.
Absolutely. It would have been interesting to hear your perspective about the Electoral College, but we have to leave the conversation here now. We must thank you, Ike Ogwebile, who joined us from Washington, D.C., who is also the CEO and Case Consulting, a global affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your time.